Hello and welcome to Pedro's Movie Cavern with me, Pedro. This is part 3 of my favourite films of the 1980s, 1982. 1982 was a fantastic year, so this was really hard to narrow down a list of 5 movies to select as my top picks, because there are so many movies that are really good that I wanted to choose, but ultimately I had to go with these 5 films. These are gonna obviously be very obvious movies. When you look at the films that were released in 1982, you will automatically see that 82 was probably the best year of the 1980s for releases, which again kind of makes it really difficult to choose 5 movies. I have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 8 movies in the list, but I can only choose 5 of them. I'm not going to do, like I did last time, I'm not going to do honorable mentions, but there is one film in here which you will probably be quite shocked that I have chosen, even though I've made no bones. I've never hidden the fact that I love this movie. So the first one is, again, it's an obvious one. So the first one is Steven Spielberg's utterly incredible, utterly fantastic 1982 alien family movie, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. E.T. is a film that is my childhood, essentially. The music, E.T., the John Williams score from E.T. is my favourite John Williams score. And then the Star Wars, original Star Wars soundtracks. But E.T., there is just something about that movie that really does hit certain nostalgia points for me. The same with the Goonies. But E.T. I don't know whether it's the movies, the fact that they use BMXs, or the Star Wars references in it, the cast with Henry Thomas and Dee Wallace, Drew Barrymore, Peter Coyote. I can never remember the name of the older brother, and I feel really bad that I don't know his name. I think it's Robert something. I have to double check this because I feel bad that I haven't put his name in my in my brain. His name is, if my phone decides, I've just done my washing up, so yeah, Robert McNaughton. Sorry, Robert McNaughton. I forgot to add you as Michael, the eldest brother. Henry Thomas obviously has gone on to become quite a well-known actor in the Mike Flanagan Netflix universe. He was in, I think it was the House on Haunted Hill, or Hill House, or something like that. And obviously Drew Barrymore went on and became a huge star, and now hosts her own talk show in the States, which is horrendous. It's so bad because she is not a talk show host. Dee Wallace carried on doing fantastic work in genre cinema. Peter Coyote, again, he appeared in so many different movies post E.T. And yeah, but the thing with E.T. is that it's a magical movie, like the early Steven Spielberg movies. So, like from Jaws to Close Encounters to E.T., well, to Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then to E.T. They're sort of very magical movies. Even though Jaws is essentially a horror film and Indiana Jones is an adventure movie, put them all together, you've got like a magical quadrilogy of Spielberg awesomeness. And that's not to say Spielberg hasn't made magical movies since. Of course he has. He did with Hook, and Jurassic Park is a magical movie. And when I mean magical, I mean it invokes a certain feeling within me to a feeling of nostalgia and comfort, and I don't get that same feeling from any other filmmaker apart from Steven Spielberg. Maybe George Lucas with Star Wars, but with Spielberg there is that nostalgia punch that I'm just like, it takes me from one world to another world, and it's a world that is set within the same world that we live, but it's the Spielbergian universe of joy and happiness. It's weird considering the man made one of the grimmest depictions of World War II with Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan, which essentially is just a men on a missions movie, just like The Dirty Dozen and what's the other one? Where Eagles Dare, where like they are essentially just men on mission movies, but because they are done by Spielberg, I don't know what the fuck is going on with my hair. Because they are Spielberg movies, they are a lot more realistic, and obviously Saving Private Ryan went on and gave us the Band of Brothers TV series Pacific, and the recent Masters of the Air, which was on Apple TV, which I couldn't get into, and I loved. Like, Band of Brothers to me is the greatest piece of television filming, I guess you could say, that's ever been committed to TV or to film. The Pacific is very, very good. It doesn't hit the same heights as Band of Brothers, and I just couldn't get into Masters of the Air. But E.T., there is something about E.T. that whenever I watch it, the same thing happens as well with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. When Close Encounters starts and you see them in the desert and they're finding the planes that disappeared in World War II, you know from that exact moment that this film is going to be something special. And E.T. does that same thing when you see them chasing poor little E.T. through the what do they call it, through the woodland area. I mean, there's a whole series of movies that are from the 80s that have that what's the word for it? It's suburban magic, I guess you could say. I mean, if you look at the Goonies maybe not so much the Goonies, but something like Explorers or even Poltergeist to a degree has that same sort of vibe to it. And I think a lot of movies that try to emulate that Spielbergian aesthetic always tend to go with the suburbs. Like the Star Wars TV show Skeleton Crew also did the same sort of thing. They basically invented Star Wars suburbs on this planet where these kids are from, and I absolutely loved Skeleton Crew. I thought it was what Star Wars needed, but also loving Andor as well. I think Andor is the best writing that Star Wars has ever had, but Skeleton Crew is the closest that a Disney Star Wars series has come to the same like vibe or aesthetic or feeling that I have when I watch the original trilogy. Unlike the Star Wars movies, the Disney Star Wars movies, that just they don't hit the same. They do not hit the same. And I think it's that George Lucas touch that's missing from the movies. But in Skeleton Crew, they do kind of hit that Lucas touch. I don't know. It's a very odd It's very hard to explain the feeling, but E.T., I think, is just a phenomenal movie. There are moments in it which are laugh out loud funny. There are moments in it which are entire box of tissues sad. E.T. In the medical bay thing where he's basically turning white and you can see his red heart through his thing, and Elliot doesn't want him to die and he's crying and this, that and the other, and then obviously you've got the ending with the finger and saying Elliot. Just, yeah, there's, I don't know, it's just so goddamn good. It makes me cry. But I think E.T. is just a phenomenal movie. Made even better, obviously, by John Williams' magnificent score, which I don't think he's ever topped. There is a magic to the music that has never been recaptured through John Williams' score, and that's not to take anything away from John Williams at all. Every single score he has done for every single film since E.T. has been incredible, but there is just this, I don't know, I can't explain it. There is something about the music that he wrote for E.T. that just brings a smile to my face. The same sort of thing happens in Star Wars, more in like Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi than The New Hope. I think there are bits of music in those films that kind of get an emotion out of me, or like elicit an emotion out of me. Luke and Leia and Yoda's theme, and then in the prequels you've got obviously the big one being the Duel of Fates, but Across the Stars from Attack of the Clones, and then the fight on Mustafar between Obi-Wan and Anakin at the end of Revenge of the Sith. I can't remember the name of the track of that. Stupid. Let me get some Pepsi. Yeah, so my first pick for 1982 is Steven Spielberg's absolutely incredible, wonderful, magical movie, E.T. So then we move swiftly on to... Oh, this is going to be hard. This is going to be hard. Another Alien movie that came out around the same. I think they were released a week apart. But it's John Carpenter's The Thing. The Thing is, for me, it is the pinnacle of practical visual effects and storytelling in science fiction horror. I don't think any film has ever matched what John Carpenter, Bill Lancaster, and Rob Bottin crafted with that movie. It is a remake of a 1950s Howard Hughes or Howard Hawks? 1951 science fiction film that starred James Arness, which is classed as a classic of the golden age of Hollywood science fiction. Nowadays, it would be technically classed as a B movie, but back in the day, it was that, them, This Island Earth, Invaders from Mars. Like, these are the big players. The Day the Earth Stood Still, The Day the Earth Caught Fire. These are the big players in the 1951, sorry. So it was 1951, and it was Howard Hawks, there we go. But it was also co-directed, uncredited, I believe, by Christian Nyby, who... Christian Nyby was the one who was credited. Howard Hawks was uncredited. But Christian Nyby also directed Red River and the... Did he direct that, or was he editor on that? He was editor, sorry. He was an editor on that. So, Christian Nyby also directed. Let us find out. Where are we? Where are we? Episodes of Lancer. and Daniel Boone. Mainly TV shows, by the look of things. First to Flight in 1967. Young Fury in 1964. Six Gun Law in 1963. 2 episodes of The Twilight Zone. And yeah, so he was mainly a television director, directing quite well-known TV shows like Cimarron City and Wagon Train. Whispering Smith, never heard of that one. Perry Mason, Tales of Wells Fargo, just a lot of them. Death Valley Days, Rawhide, he directed 14 episodes of Rawhide. Gunsmoke, 4 episodes of that. So he was an in-demand director, but we're not talking about 1951's The Thing from Another World. We're talking about John Carpenter's The Thing. The Thing, not only does it have insane visual effects, like practical visual effects, it has incredible writing from Bill Lancaster's incredible script, and for me, it also has Carpenter's best work as a director. I don't think he's ever matched the visual eye that he had on The Thing. I mean, I love Carpenter movies. Halloween is a very well-directed film for what it is, which is a slasher movie. It's inventive. Assault on Precinct 13 also is incredible for when it was made. But The Thing and the stuff that followed, like Prince of Darkness and Christine and They Live, just Big Trouble in Little China, they all have a specific look to them. So they all look like John Carpenter movies, whereas The Thing doesn't look like a Carpenter film. It doesn't look like what we became familiar with. So by that, I mean, I think it's down to cinematographer. I think he worked with the same cinematographer multiple times. But if you look at how They Live looks visually and then compare it to something like Big Trouble in Little China, they are very similar in styles, yet The Thing has a very different cinematic look to it. And I think that really, really stands out in his filmography. I mean, it flopped at the time it came out because obviously, like I said, I think it was released. There was the release date of The Thing was like a week after E.T., and E.T. was smashing up the box office, and it just couldn't keep up. And I think at the time it had some really bad reviews as well, and it's now at a point where what was considered a flop in 1982 is now considered not a cult classic, because The Thing is not a cult classic. The Thing is a classic, 100% bona fide cinematic classic, and it's just an incredible film, just incredible. Thinking about that movie, and not just talking about John Carpenter, but I want to talk about the cast as well. Kurt Russell, phenomenal as MacReady in that movie. Keith David, again, as Childs, phenomenal in that film. And he would continue to work with Carpenter. He appeared in They Live as well. And the really nice thing is both Kurt Russell and Keith David spoke at John Carpenter's Hollywood Walk of Fame star thing this year, which is really cool. I don't really think he gave a shit if you really watch that, but it's nice that finally Carpenter has the recognition that he deserved and has his place on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, even though I think he's got to fucking pay for it. I'm not really sure, but there is I absolutely adore The Thing. I think The Thing, like, for me, I watch it every Halloween. I know a lot of people have Halloween films that they watch. For me, it is The Thing, Dawn of the Dead, and The Evil Dead 2. Sometimes Army of Darkness, or Cigarette Burns, which is the episode of Masters of Horror. season 1, Masters of Horror, that Carpenter directed, which stars Norman Reedus. This is pre Walking Dead as well, which is very, very good. It is very, very good. It's only 45 minutes long, 50 minutes long, but it is very good. And I like to think of that as the last John Carpenter movie. Even though it's not a movie, it's an episode of a anthology television series, because I don't want to class The Ward as Carpenter's last movie, because it's shit. And that's nothing against Carpenter. It's just not a very good film. It's not a very well written film. It's not a very well acted film. It's competently directed by Carpenter, but when you watch it, you feel that like maybe he didn't really give a shit about the movie and just phoned it in. I mean, directors do that a lot, especially towards the end of their career. And that's not to say that Carpenter is at the end of his career. He's literally just like played live at some show in America. I can't remember what it was called, but playing the music, and he's carved out a cult career as an electronic music artist, which is fucking amazing. But The Thing, when you really think about how that film was made, Carpenter has such a hard time with that film and put so much blood, sweat, and tears into that movie, filming in minus 20 degrees, I think it was, up in Alaska. And like Kurt Russell, like the performances that he put in. I mean, Kurt Russell had done Escape from New York the year before, or 1980, I think it was. And no, 1981 it was. And that the fact that they were shooting, he spends the majority of Escape from New York in just a tank top. But in this, he's fucking bundled up and stuff. There's a bit where he gets back into the outpost, and he's got he's been out in the freezing cold, and his beard is just white, and he's holding the flare, and it's just good. And when he pours the JB alcohol into the computer chess game, everyone is outstanding in that, but it's made better by the fact that the thing itself is there. It is a physical creature, or a physical prop, a physical animatronic, a physical puppet, if you will, which you very rarely see these days. Everything is either shot with a tennis ball on a stick, or like a silver globe against a green screen, and then it's composited in or CGI'd. But the fact that they had to do that, they had to like puppeteer the thing, or the puppeteer the dog that basically flays open and you see the tentacles come out. They had to puppeteer that on set. Just fucking blows my mind, and it pisses me off that studios do not do that these days. Everything is CGI, and the fact that they Studio ADI, when they did the remake come prequel with Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Studio ADI did the visual effects. If you know who Studio ADI are, they are the ones who have basically been responsible for the Alien Xenomorphs since I think Alien 3. I think it's Alien 3. It's Alec Gillis, and I can't remember his name now, but he's the one who's always in the alien costume. They are incredible practical effects makeup artists, and they were hired to do the practical effects for the prequel stroke remake of The Thing. And the stuff that they did was incredible. Like the footage that they've released on YouTube, like it's insane how good the stuff that they did for that film. And it all got CGI'd. All their hard work was CGI'd over because executives and producers thought that the CGI would be scarier. No, having something real is far more frightening than having something fake. but at least the actors got to react to a physical creature while they were filming, and then once the filming was done, they CGI'd over the footage. But Rob Bottin's work on the first thing it's legendary. Like the stuff that he came up with, the innovations that he came up with in practical effects, just so good. And he worked so hard. I think he was like 23 at the time as well. But he worked so hard on making the effects look so groundbreaking and incredible and just horrible and real that it put him in the hospital with exhaustion. And I think it also put Carpenter in hospital with exhaustion as well. But everything in the thing is brought together like perfectly, and it's all wrapped up in a massively underrated score by Ennio Morricone, which, if you've seen Tarantino's Hateful Eight, there are key moments in some of the music there that do sound familiar to fans of The Thing, mainly because Hateful Eight kind of is a reference to, or a homage to, The Thing without having the gloopy visual effects in it. But it is about paranoia and characters stuck in one location for a very long period of time while trying to work out who is dodgy and who is not. Again, it's like the 12 Little Indians. Is it 12 Little Indians, I think it's called, where they get killed off one by one. It's essentially, I think it was a Agatha Christie story. I'm not 100% sure though. But yeah, the score for Hateful Eight was actually music that was unused for Carpenter's The Thing. But yeah, so The Thing is my number 2 choice for pick of 1982. So then we get to my number 3 pick. Which again is an obvious one. It's the start of the 80s muscle-bound action cinema with 1982's First Blood. First Blood, starring Sylvester Stallone, Brian Dennehy, and Richard Crenna. This film hits every single point that you want. It's an odd film as well because it is an action movie, but it isn't an action movie in the Rambo 2 First Blood sense, because this is more of a refined, less gung-ho, more wilderness survival movie than it is a straight-up guns blazing action movie. And it's a film that has a lot more heart and drama than the following Rambo films had. And a lot more heart than a lot of the 80s Stallone action movies had, full stop. Basically, the film starts with John Rambo, who is a Vietnam War vet, entering a very, very small town and being escorted out by the town sheriff, played by Brian Dennehy, for being a vagrant, but he's not actually a vagrant. He is a man who has just come to the town to pay his respects to a former comrade who served with him in Vietnam. They were very good friends. John came to pay his respects because he had passed away, and while on his way into town, he is moved along, as you would say in the UK, for being like I said, a vagrant, a bum, and just a random homeless guy. John sort of ignores the sheriff's warnings and turns around and walks back into town, so he arrests him, and the sheriff's department then sort of, I don't want to say this, like, torture him, because they don't torture him, but they blast him with a hose, and he just loses it because he gets flashbacks of the torture that he suffered in Vietnam. and he escapes from prison and heads off into the wilderness. And then the sheriff's men and the sheriff give chase. But this is the thing with this movie. John Rambo isn't just your average Vietnam veteran. John Rambo is a highly trained, highly skilled, elite military operative, trained in guerrilla warfare, and basically he is the ultimate military badass. And he is suffering from severe PTSD and trauma from his time in Vietnam. And then we head into the survival aspect of the movie, where in a way it kind of feels like a slasher movie, because even though there is only technically one death in the film, or two if you watch the original ending, even though there's only one death in the film, really, when you think about it, when you watch the movie, you see that Rambo is kind of taking people out, but I kind of knocking them out, I guess you could say. One by one, so it has that weird sort of slasher movie feel to it, but they don't realize who they have basically pissed off. And then we get the introduction of Richard Crenna's Colonel Troutman, who is the man who trained Rambo in the art of guerrilla warfare and using his surroundings to his advantage and stuff. And it's just like it's such a good, gritty action film, and Stallone's performance is really, really good as a like PTSD suffering elite killing machine, if you know what I mean. And you get to the end then, and you have the whole monologue about what it was like to be a Vietnam soldier coming home from the war and being accused of certain things, and you can see Stallone breaking down, and it's just like it proves that Stallone wasn't or isn't just the lunkhead that people thought he was. I mean, Rocky is a good example of Stallone's skill level in acting, and that gets even better in First Blood, and then you also have Rocky Balboa in 2006, where he just puts everything into it. And then obviously you get Creed 2, where we get is it Creed 2? No, Creed 1? Creed 1? I think it's the first Creed film where we get to see a very, very vulnerable Rocky post death of Adrian, and him coming to terms with the fact that he has cancer. And it was that role that got him a Oscar nomination as Best Supporting Actor in Rocky, which is phenomenal when you think about it. But in Rambo, in First Blood, the monologue at the end is just, it's something else you don't generally see in what is technically a 80s action movie. But it is an 80s action movie, that is the thing, but it's the start of the action movie. And there was another film that came out the same year, which is one that I was going to talk about, and I may still actually talk about, that had his sort of rival in it, Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I will be talking. Actually, I am going to talk about it because I think that's going to be my next one. But yeah, there's something about First Blood again that not like the nostalgia of E.T. or those type of films, but there's something about First Blood that gets you pumped, even though you know that it's not on the same chaotic level as Rambo 2 and Rambo 3, Rambo 4, or John Rambo, whatever it's called, and then Rambo Last Blood. But it does get you pumped. It gets you rooting for a man who is really, really, really down on his luck, but could look at you and just kill you instantly with no hesitation, because that is what he's trained to do. He's a trained killing machine, and I just love the film. And I love all the Rambo movies, but First Blood specifically is based on a novel by David Morrell, who I think he kind of sort of disowned the movie. I'm not 100% sure. I think he kind of disowned the movie because it wasn't what the original source novel was about. And I think it was directed by Ted Post. Is it Ted Post? Ted Post. I'm double checking it. I should have checked all this, but I don't because I'm a lazy fuck. First Blood. I don't think it's Ted Post. Ted Kochev. Sorry, it was Ted Kochev. I knew it was a Ted. But it's just so good. It is so good. But like I said, I think David Morrell kind of disowned the story because it didn't follow as tightly as it should have the source novel. But I mean, the whole cast is outstanding in it. Brian Dennehy never, ever puts in a duff performance. He always nails every single fucking role that he's in. Richard Crenna is great as Troutman, like a no-nonsense, hard-ass, military training advisor, colonel, badass motherfucker. And then you have Stallone just kicking ass straight up. And then you also get like little roles for up-and-coming actors, like David Caruso is also in it as well. But it's great. I mean, it's all like all the movies that I've talked about. They all have very memorable musical scores as well. This is no exception. This has a fantastic score by Jerry Goldsmith and that wonderful song at the end. But it just works so well. And it was basically the catalyst for the War on Everyone movies of the 1980s. Red Dawn being one of them. Commando. If it wasn't for First Blood, you wouldn't have Commando. If it wasn't for First Blood, we wouldn't have Predator. We wouldn't have Die Hard. We wouldn't have what else came out? Red Scorpion with Dolph Lundgren. These movies existed because First Blood existed, and if First Blood didn't exist, then the action genre just wouldn't be a thing. I don't think it would be a thing. I think we would still probably be in the same realm of 70s action, which is not technically action. It's like thrillers, but have well, I say that, but I guess the gun-toting action cinema wouldn't be the same. Maybe car action would be different. Or would be the mainstay of action cinema because of the Road Warrior. But I think without First Blood, action cinema as we know it just wouldn't exist. And as a huge action movie aficionado from everything from 1980s action cinema through the 90s, through the 2000s, and the DTS. Direct to streaming, direct DTV, direct to video on demand, straight to video crap. I thank the Lord that First Blood exists, so I have an appreciation of action cinema. I'm guessing without I say without Rambo you wouldn't have John Wick, but John Wick is more influenced by Hong Kong cinema of the mid to late 80s and early 90s and like John Woo type of stuff. But the big like muscle-bound man movie wouldn't exist without First Blood. And I think First Blood is an incredible movie, and it doesn't really get the dues that I think it should for what it did for action cinema in the early part of the 1980s. So there we go. That is pick number 3 for favourite films of 1982. Moving swiftly on to the one I just said I was probably going to talk about. And it is Arnold Schwarzenegger's fantasy epic, directed by John Milius, written by Oliver Stone, and it is clearly going to be Conan the Barbarian. Conan the Barbarian is fucking awesome. I love it. I watch it religiously. I memorized lines from it. Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, to see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of the women. I love it. It's just so good, and it's so fucking dark. It's like full-on dark fantasy as well. I mean, there's snakes in, like giant snake monsters. There is fucking cults. It's just so good. It's like a snake cult run by Thusula Doom, played brilliantly and creepily, and also just very evil James Earl Jones. So James Earl Jones kicking ass as the evil Lord Vader, but also kicking ass as the evil Thusula Doom, who, when he was a child, murdered Conan. Not when Thusula Doom was a child, but when Conan was a child, his snake cult, just murdered Conan's family, took him captive, put him into the work pit thing, where he had to continually push around that massive thing, which is when we have the montage of him changing, and one minute he's a child, the next minute he's buff fucking Arnie. It's so good. The music as well by Basil Poledouris is just extremely good. Like, all of it is great. And again, I think something like Conan the Barbarian, while people love it, it's sort of classed as a cult movie, but it's really not. It is a fucking high-end fantasy epic classic, and Arnold fucking nails his role in that movie. Sorry for the swearing. When I get really passionate about a movie, I swear. And so that Conan is just so good. The sword is badass. The fucking war paint that he puts on. You've got Valkyrie in it as well, or Valkyrie, who is like sort of his love interest, but also just a badass warrior as well. Then you've got his other friend. I can't remember what his name is now. Why my brain's gone fucking quiet. You've got Max von Sydow as the king who hires Conan and Valkyrie to find his daughter and bring her back, because she's been taken by the snake cult. It's just so good, and it's probably one of the best fantasy sword and sorcery movies ever made. If it wasn't for Conan, we wouldn't have things like Sword and the Sorcerer and the Warrior Queen and these type of movies that were thrown out for 50 quid a pop by Albert Pune and Roger Corman, and most of them all starred David Carradine anyway. But yeah, Conan the Barbarian is such a great movie, and it's the film that I say is my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. It's not. It's probably my third favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie now. So my three favorite Arnie movies would probably be Conan the Barbarian, Terminator 2, and then Kindergarten Cop. But I love pretty much everything that man did between 1982 and 1995, when Eraser came out. Because if you look at his stuff, is just like the stuff he'd done pre Conan the Barbarian. So you had just a quick cameo in the movie The Long Goodbye, which is a Robert Altman movie based on Dashiell Hammett. Is it Dashiell Hammett character? It might not be. It might be the other writer, which is the Philip Marlowe character played by Elliot Gould in that film. Then you also have the infamous Hercules in New York, which is a terrible, terrible movie. Then you have the film he made with Kirk Douglas, where he played a character called the Handsome Stranger. And then you had Conan, and then from Conan we had Conan the Destroyer, not as good, and Red Sonja, clearly not as good, but also Terminator, 1984, James Cameron's directorial debut, being The Terminator, which led to Raw Deal, Commando, Predator, fucking Twins, Total Recall. Then you had Junior. Then we had, what else did we have? Kindergarten Cop. Then we had True Lies. Then we had, what was after True Lies? Jingle All the Way? I think it was Jingle All the Way. Then we had Eraser. Those movies were just... Oh, we had Red Heat as well. Walter Hill's Red Heat with Jim Belushi. Just great, great action movies and good comedies and stuff. And a lot of people say that Arnie's career was kickstarted by the Terminator in 1984, but I say bullshit to that. Bullshit to that. It was Conan the Barbarian in 1982. Who the fuck thought that John Milius directing a Austrian bodybuilder from a script by Oliver Stone, who would literally, I think the next film Oliver Stone wrote was Scarface, would make such a great dark fantasy movie based on a character created by Robert E. Howard in the early 1900s or late 1800s. I can't remember now. But he also created a character called Kull the Conqueror, and there was another character as well. I think it's Solomon Kane. But yeah, I mean, it's so good. There's even a scene where he punches out a camel. I love it. Maybe not the punching out a camel bit, but just how good that film is. And whenever I talk about a film, I always in my head I just want to watch it again. But it was one of the first films that I was allowed to watch with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Actually, I say that one of the first films I was allowed to watch with Arnold Schwarzenegger in was the Terminator, the original 1984 Terminator. But my mum said I had to close my eyes when Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese started having sex. I didn't. But I think Conan was probably the second one. The second film that kind of introduced me to Arnie's world. Bear in mind, I'm 42 this year. So I was born in 83, which means that I kind of grew up through the greatest period of kids films and stuff of cinema. So we had Back to the Future and the Care Bears movie. I say the Care Bears movie. The Care Bears movie, My Little Pony, the movie The Secret of the Ooze. What else do we have? Explorers, The Last Starfighter, just The Peanut Butter Solution, a bizarre ass fucking Canadian movie about a kid who loses his hair when he gets scared, and the only way to get it back is to use a solution made of peanut butter, and it gives him really, really long locks. It's very odd. It's a very odd movie, The Peanut Butter Solution. But I think that's why I love 80s movies so much, was because they weren't afraid to just make anything. And everything was made in the 80s. And Tarantino goes on about saying how the 80s and the 50s were the worst decades for cinema, which I say bullshit. It's not. It's probably one of the best. So there we go. That is number 4. Was that number 4? That was my 4th pick, wasn't it? For best films of 1982. And my 5th and final pick, which I will get to shortly, is one that might surprise you or might not. And so my final choice for favourite film of 1982 is a film that has now sort of become a cult classic. Before, it was widely regarded as a shit movie. It's quite hated by a lot of people. Critics shat on it. One of the main stars actually does not like it. Does not like the fact that it is part of her filmography. And it is a sequel to a 1970s, late 70s hit musical. It's Grease 2. Now, why do I love Grease 2? So, here's the thing with Grease 2. Grease 2 is a film for me that holds a massive place in my heart from when I was a child. So a lot of these films are films that I've selected because of what they mean to me and what the sort of nostalgia that I have for them as a younger person or a child. Grease 2 is a film that I used to watch every time. Going back, my mum, she used to clean my dad's best friend's house before she got a job working for the Automobile Association. And it was basically just to help out. My dad was working. My mum was obviously looking after small kids in the 1980s. So it was like me, my younger brother, my older sister. There's only literally between the three of us, there's, I think, 4.5 years between all three of us. So I'm the middle child. My brother's the youngest. My sister's the oldest. So like I said, there's only 4 years between us. So we would have all been quite young when my mum was looking after us as small children. So she would go and clean my dad's best friend's house. Now, Barry was a... you know how you have family friends that are so unbelievably close that you refer to them as auntie and uncle? Well, Barry was Uncle Barry because he was so close. They lived round the corner from us. Like, our house was on one street. You walk up, cross the road, turn the corner, and their house was there. So we were so close. They used to come over to ours on a Saturday night. My parents and Barry and Carol would play card games all night and just drink wine, drink beer, drink cider, have a laugh. Proper family friend get together every Saturday without fail. I was taught how to play cards that way. My brother basically learned card tricks and money management playing cards, and they were a very, very, very big part of our lives. To the point where at my mum's funeral, Carol came and we basically said we kind of think of you as part of our family because of how close we were to them. Barry sadly passed away a couple of years before my mum, and he was very, very responsible for my sense of humour, my brother's sense of humour, and a lot of our, specifically me, a lot of my film journey, because I used to have a VHS collection. So it was because of him I saw the original. I saw E.T. on VHS in 1986 or whatever it was. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Lethal Weapon, the original Star Wars theatrical releases. We borrowed off them so often that they were very, very, very important people to our family. So when before my mum got a full-time job, she used to go and clean Barry and Carol's house. And Barry owned his own business. He was he owned his own business selling stationery. So it was like pens and pencils and stuff like that, and also office furniture. Like he was flush. So to help out while my mum was at home looking after three kids, she would go around and clean the house. But we were allowed to just watch movies while my mum cleaned. So one of the movies that I watched religiously was Grease 2. I've never been a fan of the original Grease with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. I've always gravitated towards Grease 2 because that was the film that introduced me to that world. And even though Grease is a good film, there is something that Grease 2 has that beats the original for me. I don't know what it is. I mean, as a 41-year-old, I can see that Grease 2 is not a good film. It is clearly not a good film. I mean, halfway through the film, they write out Frenchie because there's nothing for her to do in the movie. So they just write her out, and there's just no explanation as to why she's not there. They just don't answer it. They just, okay, just write her out. You've got Maxwell Caulfield playing Michael, who is meant to be Sandy's British cousin, who shows up at Rydell High and falls in love with Stephanie, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, who is part of the Pink Ladies. She's currently in a relationship with the head of the T-Birds. And it's very cheesy. It's very cheesy. It's a very 80s, 70s movie, if you know what I mean. But there was something about it that just I always wanted to watch it. I always got gravitated towards that movie, whether it's the music, whether it's the shit story, the motorbikes, the fact that they replaced the cars in Greece with motorbikes in Greece too. It was cool as fuck, like the Cool Rider song. Let's do it for our country. Let's bowl. Gotta go back to school. Just the dance numbers at the beginning, just really colourful dance like numbers, just did something to me, and I can still watch it now and get that really big smile on my face. I don't think there's any other musical film that does that to me. And I'm not a musical person. I grew up in a household where my dad was obsessed with 1940s and 1930s musicals and Rodgers and Hammerstein stuff. So I grew up on things like Wizard of Oz, like The Sound of Music and Oklahoma and South Pacific. These movies were like a staple of my childhood, and it kind of turned me off musicals because that's all we used to watch. Like Singing in the Rain is one of my top 10 movies of all time. I fucking love Singing in the Rain. I can't watch Wizard of Oz anymore. I can't watch The Sound of Music because it was fucking drilled into us when we were kids. But Grease 2, I don't know why it does this to me, but it drags me in, and I can watch it from start to finish and never get bored, even though I've seen that movie like a million times. It's great. I love the music. I love the soundtrack. I love the costumes. I love the motorbikes. I love the fact that they all look way too old to be in high school. Specifically, Adrian Zmed, who plays the leader of the T-Birds, Johnny. Like he looks like he's in his 40s. There is just something about that movie that just makes me happy, and maybe it's the fact that it reminds me of Barry, or it could be the fact that it reminds me of my childhood. But again, like I said, I can watch that film over and over and over again and never ever get bored of it. I know that it's not a good movie. I know it's not a good film. But that's why I had to choose Grease 2 as my number 5 pick out of all the movies that were released in 1982. In fact, I will tell you all the films I had. I had E.T. the Extraterrestrial, First Blood, Class of 1984, which is a fucking great film, The Last Unicorn, absolutely gorgeous animated movie by Rankin and Bass, Grease 2, Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. I replaced Grease 2. I chose Grease 2 over Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, The Thing, and Conan. Why did I choose Grease 2 over The Wrath of Khan? I love Wrath of Khan. I think it's the second greatest... Well, it's the greatest Star Trek movie of all time. It's not my favourite. That is Voyage Home. But it doesn't elicit the same emotional reaction that Grease 2 does, which is why I had to choose that movie. With Grease 2 as well, on my my website, not cinepocalypse.com, the other one, which was originally called Bad Movie Beatdown, but now it's just called Pedro's Movie Website or Pedro's Movie Cavern. I wrote a thing about, like a whole thing about Grease 2 and why I loved it so much. It's just a film that I can just lose my shit in. I can just, if I'm feeling down, Grease 2 will pick me back up. I don't know why. And it is a cult classic. There is 100% a cult classic. And that's why I love it. And that's why I've chosen that as my number 5 pick for favourite films of 1982. So, as a rundown, number 1, E.T. Number 2, The Thing. Number 3, Conan the Barbarian. Number 4, I've already forgotten what I chose. Number 4, First Blood. Number 4 was First Blood, and number 5 is Grease 2. So those are my top 5 favourite picks of 1982. Tune in next time for my 1983 picks. I can guarantee you 100% that Return of the Jedi is going to be on that list, because it has to be. It has to be. It's Return of the fucking Jedi. So, my name is Pedro. Thank you all for watching. I have got some new pickups, but I'm gonna do a pickup at the end of the month, because I've only got a handful of stuff, and I don't want to just go, well, here's the 3 movies that I bought. There are some things that I want to pick up, so I will see you all in that one, and tune in for the next installment of Favourite Films of 1980s for 1983. My name is Pedro. This is Pedro's Movie Mess, and I will see you all soon. So I'm going to give you a salute. I'm going to throw up the peace sign, and I'm going to tell you, guess what? I'm out. See ya. Cheers. Wouldn't want to be ya. See ya. Cheers. Thanks, everyone. Bye.